Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on this Thursday, and boy, it is hard to believe that it's Thursday already, but we kind of got off to a late start, didn't we, because we had Monday as a holiday. Here's what we got to cover today. A federal court disagrees with President Trump's belief that he has an unbounded authority to impose worldwide tariffs. The Trump administration will appeal the decision. The Democrat governor of Massachusetts is sounding off about her frustrations with ICE's latest operations in her state, saying she found it disturbing to hear about the arrest of some 40 illegal immigrants. Guess where? In the exclusive communities of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. Oh, no, we can't have the wealthy upset in Martha's Vineyard, can we? California's High School Sports League made a major rule change to its upcoming girls track and field state championship for the second day in a row. This is deja vu. Didn't I tell you this yesterday? And an exclusive Northeast University known for its baseball program is being sued by the parents of a former player who tells the horrifying tale of brutal hazing, including alleged beatings and forced sex acts. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster held a ceremonial signing yesterday for a new law aimed at easing skyrocketing insurance costs for bars, restaurants, and other alcohol-serving establishments. We got a lot to cover. Let's jump right in.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Well, folks, it's official. The chief efficiency officer himself, Elon Musk, is stepping down from his high-profile role at the Department of Government Efficiency, or as President Trump dubbed it, DOGE. The man behind Tesla, SpaceX, and now a leaner, meaner federal government is finishing his term as a special government employee, wrapping up a whirlwind 130-day mission to cut through the swamp's red tape. The DOGE mission will only strengthen over time, Elon Musk posted yesterday on X, and the White House confirmed that the offboarding has begun. Established by President Trump via executive order on Inauguration Day, DOGE has been a fast strike unit tasked with sniffing out fraud, abuse, and billions in government waste. Musk led the charge not as a bureaucrat, but as a temporary government consultant. The law says you get 130 days in that role, and Musk's clock runs out on May 30th. The U.S. Court of International Trade just ruled that President Donald Trump has overstepped his authority by imposing tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, known as the IEEPA for short. Now, before you start tuning out because of the acronym soup, let me translate this for you. 3 judges, one picked by President Reagan, one picked by President Obama, and the last one picked by President Trump himself, just said, sorry, Mr. President, you can't use emergency powers to fight the trade war. Now, let me ask you something. Since when did putting America first become unconstitutional? Trump's whole point here, and it's a strong one, is that America's been getting shafted for decades. Countries slap our goods with massive tariffs. They drown us in trade barriers, dump their cheap junk on our markets, and laugh all the way to the bank while our industries collapse and our workers get laid off. Now, what is wrong about that? Trump said enough is enough. He used the powers available to him through the IEEPA and hit back, not just at adversaries, but at so-called allies who've been taking advantage of us with lopsided trade deals since the Clinton years. And now the court says, sorry, you went too far. Wow. Let me tell you what's really going on here. This isn't about constitutional limits, I don't think. This is about the permanent political class, the one that never believed in Trump's trade agenda, never liked the tariffs, never wanted to disrupt the globalist status quo, stepping in to stop America from standing up for itself. The court wrote, and I quote, "The IEEPA does not authorize any of the worldwide retaliatory or trafficking tariff orders." So really, with a stroke of a pen, these three judges have just undone everything that the president has accomplished in the past few weeks with the tariffs. I mean, what does it authorize? The IEEPA. It's hard to say. What does it authorize? Because if massive systemic trade imbalances, which have destroyed American manufacturing, eroded our national security, if they don't qualify as an emergency, what does? Here's what White House spokesman Kusta said, and he nailed it. Foreign countries' non-reciprocal treatment of the United States has fueled America's historic and persistent trade deficits. These deficits have created a national emergency that has decimated American communities, left our workers behind, and weakened our defense industrial base. That's not hyperbole. That's not spin. That's a fact. For decades, we let China build our electronics. We let Mexico undercut our factories. We let Europe soak up with the VAT taxes while pretending we were on equal footing. And now that someone is finally doing something about it, suddenly the courts want to step in and say, that's not your job, Mr. President. Well, let me ask you something. Whose job is it? Congress? You mean the same Congress that hasn't passed a real trade reform in about 30 years or so? The WTO, the globalist cartel that hasn't enforced anything in our favor? Trump announced these tariffs as part of his Liberation Day plan. Remember that, April 2nd? The day he said that we're done being the world's punching bag. He unveiled custom tariffs for nations that have blocked U.S. goods. And by the way, they've already started working. I mean, we immediately started seeing some of these manufacturers say, okay, we're going to start building plants in America. We're going to start building our products. We're going to hire American workers and make our products in the U.S. But now the court says, sorry there, Mr. President, you can't invoke these tariffs. Well, let me tell you, this ruling isn't just bad for Trump. It's bad for every American worker, every steel town, every farm state, every community hollowed by the globalism and free trade lies. Now, yes, we're gonna experience some pain, and we haven't started seeing that yet, because it is going to cause some prices to go up, but it's temporary. And you know what? Trump's ready to fight this out. He's going to appeal the decision, and good for him. He should take it to the Supreme Court, and let's see if those justices won't decide with the elite or with what's best for the American people, because this isn't just legal theory. This is about our economic sovereignty. This is about national strength. And if these courts come back and tell the president he can't do this, can you imagine how that's going to look on the global front? Other countries are going to be laughing at us because they're going to say, well, Donald Trump doesn't have the authority to do anything. We can do anything we want to America, and Trump can't do anything about it. Let me say something to every politician, every judge, everybody who may be clutching their pearls over Trump's use of emergency powers. You didn't call it an emergency when towns lost their factories. You didn't call it an emergency when we handed China our entire supply chain. You didn't call it an emergency when opioid deaths followed job losses like clockwork. But now it's an emergency. When Trump dares to fight back, we can't do this. Well, I don't think we're going to buy it. President Trump is doing exactly what he promised, putting America first. And if the courts won't let him use the IEEPA to do it, then maybe it's time to rewrite the law. Give him the authority directly. Maybe Congress needs to step up. What do you think about that? What do you think about Congress enacting a law that says the president can be our trade rep? The president can enact these tariffs if he chooses to do so. Because this trade war didn't start with Donald Trump. It started when we let everyone else walk all over us. And now that we're finally swinging back, the globalist class, again, they just want to pull the plug. They don't have the stomach to do this. Okay, so what do you think? Love to get your comments. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can text me. You can also leave me a quick message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code JOEY when you go to MyPillow.com. You'll get the very best offer that Mike Lindell has to say. Promo code JOEY at MyPillow.com. Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan. No Ozempic, no shots, no meds. Look, I refuse to rely on prescriptions for life, and you probably feel the same. Joey Hudson here. Here's what Big Pharma won't tell you. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the hormone that fights hunger. PhD helps your body produce it naturally, faster, and without side effects. With PhD, there's no muscle loss, no rebound weight gain, and no cravings. Just real, lasting weight loss the natural way. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. It takes 5 minutes and shows what's really happening inside your body. You'll walk out knowing how to flip your fat-burning switch. No shots needed. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma and without the drugs. Plus 15% off when you fully commit to your program and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now 864-644-1900. Start today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Let's talk about the latest twist in who's actually been running the country over the past few years. And this is not one coming from some conspiracy forum. It's coming from a watchdog group. It's coming from legal experts and even some people in Congress. So here's the deal. Power the Future is a pro-energy group, and they're calling for a full-scale federal investigation into 8 major executive orders signed under the Biden administration. Why? Because they believe the president may not have even known that he signed them. We suspected this, didn't we? We're not talking about a clerical error here. We're talking about executive actions that ban Arctic drilling, for example, that halted offshore energy projects and shoveled billions into green pet projects. And now people are asking, were these orders actually signed by Joe Biden or possibly by an AutoPen? We know that they used AutoPen. They've admitted that. So what's an AutoPen, you ask? It's exactly what it sounds like, a machine that mimics someone's signature, a glorified robo-hand. The Justice Department says that it's legal for presidents to use one. We're not questioning that. Fine. But legal doesn't mean legit, especially if the person in the Oval Office has no clue what's actually being signed and what it's going to do. So let's be clear. This isn't just some theoretical beef. These executive orders radically reshape some of America's energy policy. They've slammed the brakes on fossil fuel production. They handed out taxpayer cash to favored clean energy startups. I mean, gave it away like candy. And yet, and this is the key, there's zero public record of Joe Biden speaking about a lot of these. Not once, not in a press conference, not in a statement, not even in a tweet. So who made the call? Who decided that these policies were going to be signed and approved? Daniel Turner is the executive director of Power the Future, and he says that these aren't some obscure memos. These are massive economy-shifting directives, and if Joe Biden didn't authorize them or even know they were being issued, maybe, just maybe, we've got a serious problem here, folks. That's not just bad management. You know, the Dems are always talking about how Trump and his administration at times is a constitutional crisis. They love to talk about constitutional crisis with some of the things that Donald Trump is doing. Well, this is a real constitutional crisis, or could be, because if unelected staffers in the Biden administration were creating policy using a signature machine to make it law, and the president has no idea what's going on, then guess what? You're not living in a republic. You're living in a puppet show. This all got juicier when Speaker Mike Johnson said earlier this year that President Biden seemed to forget that he had paused LNG exports, something that cost American jobs and sent shockwaves through the energy sector. And now, after the release of Jake Tapper's book, Original Sin, and isn't it this ironic that Jake Tapper, one of the CNN cheerleaders for the Biden administration, is reigniting this conversation, this debate? His new book, Original Sin, has laid out in excruciating detail how far Biden's cognitive decline really went behind closed doors. The auto pen rumors aren't sounding so far-fetched anymore, are they? Listen, no one's saying, and let me repeat, no one is saying that the use of the auto pen is illegal. But people are asking, if a president isn't mentally or physically capable of making decisions, then who is? Who makes those decisions? Who decides, first off, who writes the executive order? Who decides if the executive order is something that's going to be blessed by the administration? And then, ultimately, who decides if the president's going to sign it? The president should, right? But in Joe Biden's case, evidently, there were times he was so far out of it, he had no clue what was going on. He probably doesn't even know who wrote the orders. Obviously, he doesn't know who's deciding which billion-dollar industry gets choked out, who's rubber stamping these policies in some back room in the White House, while a signature machine gives the illusion that America still has a functioning commander-in-chief, and that's exactly what we saw. That's what there's evidence of. Now, that is a real scandal. Mr. Turner says it's time for Department of Justice to investigate. I agree. We need to make sure that Congress subpoenas the staff, because the American people deserve to know, right? Did Joe Biden actually authorize these executive orders, or was someone else acting as president and not telling us? And if it's true, then every single one of those orders should be deemed null and void, right? Including the last-minute pardons, right? I mean, is it possible that Hunter Biden used the auto pen to sign his own pardon and possibly sign the pardon of some of his cronies? It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, again, Joe Biden repeatedly said last year he would not pardon his son. Yet suddenly, in the final days of the administration, Joe Biden does just that. Maybe Joe Biden didn't even know it. Maybe Hunter Biden and the First Lady wrote the pardon themselves and had the auto pen to sign it. Look, if you're using a president's name without his awareness to push your own agenda, to benefit yourself, you're not just breaking protocol, you're staging a silent coup, aren't you? This is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And we need to get to the bottom of it. We need to know exactly which executive orders were signed by the auto pen, who wrote them, and how much Joe Biden actually knew about it. And look, this will probably end up in court for years, maybe, because I imagine it's probably going to eventually land in front of the Supreme Court, because they're going to fight it. I think we're probably going to find out that Joe Biden did not know about a lot of these executive orders, and Trump is going to try to negate them. And you know, Joe Biden or whoever's running Joe Biden's office these days is going to challenge this. They're not going to just sit back and let it go. They're going to challenge it. It's going to end up in court. More of our federal tax dollars are going to be spent by the Department of Justice trying to pursue this. Everything about it is wrong. And again, we suspected it all along, didn't we? We knew that Joe Biden was out of it. We just didn't realize to what degree the auto pen was being used and who was in charge. We didn't realize that Hunter Biden and the First Lady was actually running the country. Do you agree that the Congress needs to pursue this, that we need to get to the bottom of this quickly? Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can text me as well. Okay, so I can't believe that I'm talking with you about this again. For the third day in a row, we're talking about California and how officials are trying to defend their decision to allow trans men, young boys, to play in girls' high school sports. California officials are again playing defense, as even some of their own people now. This is not coming from right-wing other states and interest groups. A lot of Californians are starting to stand up and want to be heard on this. So let's talk about what just might be the most blatant act of institutional cowardice and betrayal of young women that we've seen in high school sports. This story has just grown exponentially every single day. What we're talking about is California, where the California Interscholastic Federation, the CIF, has now changed the rules for the girls' track and field state championships for the second day in a row to accommodate a biological male competing in the girls' division. So we have one young boy who has caused all of this chaos, and California high school officials don't seem to recognize what the problem is. This weekend's state meet is a national scandal, and CIF's solution isn't to stop the unfairness, isn't to tell this young man, hey, son, you need to go compete in the boys' track meet. It's to try to normalize it, to try to make it seem as though, well, we need to be careful and not hurt his feelings. They're doubling down. They're not trying to protect girls. They're scrambling to protect a broken, woke policy. So let's break it down here. What's happening now? What's the latest? CIF now says that if a biological female athlete is displaced by a trans competitor, meaning a biological male like A.B. Hernandez, that girl will also be allowed to move on to the finals or also receive a medal. So, yes, you lose, but don't worry. Here's your consolation medal because we're going to let a boy take your place. This is insanity. This is institutionalized gaslighting. They're not fixing the problem. They're redefining fairness in real time to protect a radical gender policy that no one voted for and that most people do not want, even in California. Ask the girls. Ask their parents. Ask the fans. Ask America. The family of Katie McGinnis, a La Canada track star, put it perfectly. It's still unfair competition. It's still an injustice. And all of this is around this one boy. And it is an injustice. This isn't complicated, folks. A.B. Hernandez is a biological male. He's been dominating the girls' triple jump, long jump, and more. Everyone sees it. The CIF sees it. The competitors see it. The crowd sees it. Even the other girls who have to smile through it, they see it. Reese Hogan, the girl who placed second to Hernandez, stood on the first place podium spot for a quick symbolic photo, and it went viral because everyone knew that she should have really been standing there. She was the winner because it was girls' track. And that's the quiet rebellion happening across girls' sports right now because they're done. And you know what? So is America. We all are. We're tired of this. We're tired of talking about this incessantly. President Trump has already weighed in. He's warning California, warning Gavin Newsom, warning CIF. If you keep putting boys in girls' events, you can say goodbye to federal funding, and that has their attention because all week they've been trying to figure out how to get out of this mess. And it's a really pretty simple solution. Again, just tell this young man you can't compete in girls' sports. But no, they're trying to tiptoe around him. Well, the DOJ says they're going to step in. We're now seeing a federal investigation into the CIF and the state attorney general's office for potentially violating the rights of female athletes and elevating woke ideology over equal opportunity. Real rights. You want to talk about standing for women? That's what standing up looks like. Let me ask a simple question. How far are we going to continue to let this go? Because when every single biological marker, every competitive result, every common sense instinct says this isn't fair, and we still let it happen, then what are we doing? I mean, what we're doing is not about inclusion. It's erasing the rights that women have fought for all these years. We're erasing the dreams, the effort, the sweat, the sacrifice that these girls and their family have put in to earn a place at the state. And we're replacing them with an ideology that says biology doesn't matter. It's not tolerance. It's not compassion. It's not science for sure. It's political cowardice. For some reason, the California officials can't stand up to this young man. One of the few girls who actually beat Hernandez this year, Julia Tevin, Bria Linda, said something so important. She said, I don't think he has harmful intent. He's just being enabled by CIF. He's taking the opportunity presenting to him. And she's right, isn't she? They are enabling this young man. He has this sick idea in his head that he's a female, and then all he has to do is get up and say, I'm feeling like a female today, so I think I'm going to go run girls track. And this group of adults are allowing him to do this. She's right. They're enabling his what do you want to call it? His misguidance. This isn't about demonizing him either, though. It's really about holding the adults in the room accountable. CIF created this mess. California law enabled it, and now girls are the ones paying the price. But you know what? These girls are also the ones standing up. These girls are the ones who showing that they have a backbone and that they're courageous and that they're going to stand up to this. They're going to stand up to the adults. Let me say something directly to the CIF board. Not that they're listening. And to Governor Gavin Newsom. I know he's not listening. And to every bureaucrat hiding behind equity while young women lose their scholarships, their podiums, their moments. This is a time in their life they'll never get back. I mean, how many of you can remember, and especially the seniors, your senior year when you competed in various sports, when you competed for certain awards, and how special that time was? And these adults are robbing these young girls of that special time. And they're letting this young boy, do this. He is manipulating them. He's playing them. And if you can't see that, then you're on the wrong side of history. These people are creating a generation of female athletes who no longer believe the system is built for them. They're teaching them that if they speak up, they'll be labeled bigots. And you're teaching the boys that if they identify their way into the girls' division, the system will roll out the red carpet and let them do it. No questions asked. And this doesn't end with a medal expansion. This ends when we restore biological reality and simply say enough is enough. Am I off here? Should the federal government cut funding to California for this? Is CIF breaking the law by allowing boys into girls' events? And if you're the parent of a female athlete, how would you feel watching your daughter lose her spot to a male competitor? Send me a quick email, joe@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of schools and athletics, very disturbing story out of New York. Another major university is under fire this week. This time at Seton Hall University, where disturbing allegations of hazing have shattered the dreams of a top baseball recruit. Here's the story. A former Seton Hall freshman pitcher has filed a federal lawsuit detailing graphic hazing rituals he says he endured just weeks into his first semester. He's 17 years old. His identity remains protected. He claims that he was body slammed, choked, and left spitting blood during a violent locker room wrestling match organized by the upperclassmen. The lawsuit alleges the school's prestigious Division I baseball program has allowed a toxic, sexually explicit culture to fester unchecked. Among the most shocking allegations, a bizarre ritual called Lotus, where players were reportedly forced to masturbate in front of the team. After voicing concerns that the head coach, Rob Shepard, son of the legendary Mike Shepard, The freshman says he was labeled a rat and shunned by his teammates. The coach, he claims, promised confidentially that he would take action. He never did. His lawyer called the hazing a betrayal. Seton Hall turned a blind eye, shattering lives in the name of tradition, he said. Seton Hall has declined to comment, of course, on the ongoing litigation. Meanwhile, the national spotlight returns to college sports, with many asking how much more needs to happen before reform can take place, before we can assure young men and women that hazing will not occur. By the way, hazing is a serious problem. I interviewed Dr. Elizabeth Allen with StopHazing.org last week on the Mike Gallagher Show. Her data shows that hazing is a bigger problem than you may think. She has data for South Carolina specifically. Be sure and take a minute to read the article and watch the interview on my website. Go to joeyhudson.com, and you can also see it on my YouTube channel as well. While you're there, be sure like, comment, and subscribe. But go to joeyhudson.com. If you're a parent, if you're a grandparent of a child who's at some university or looking to go there this fall, you need to understand what they could be facing. Hazing is a real problem. Check it out at joeyhudson.com. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey at joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. All right, Massachusetts, are we really doing this again? Boy, 40 illegal immigrants, including an MS-13 gang member and a child sex offender, were arrested this week by ICE in Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. And what does the Massachusetts governor say? The Democrat, Maura Healey? What does she have to say about it? Not thank you for protecting our communities. Not glad we got some violent criminals off the street. No, the good governor said it was disturbing. She's upset that ICE arrested these illegals because of where it was. She doesn't like to disturb Nantucket. She doesn't like to disturb Martha's Vineyard. Disturbing? Governor, what's disturbing is the fact that these people were in our country. What's disturbing is that they're in our neighborhoods, in your neighborhoods. That's what your people should be upset about. So what's the story here? ICE teams working with other federal law enforcement agencies simply did their job. They targeted known criminals. They went into two elite, heavily Democrat communities and made arrests. They took action to keep people safe. But the fact that it was in these tawny communities, like Martha's Vineyard, they didn't like it. And yet, instead of praising their efforts, Governor Healey comes out swinging. She says there's zero information shared with local police, says people were ripped away from their families and job sites, and questions whether due process was followed. Now, that's what they're really upset about when she says they were ripped away from their job sites. Some of these people were probably working at some of these mansions, these big estates up there. Isn't that where Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, don't they have a big estate up there as well? Wonder if some of their help got caught up in this. Here's what I want to know, Governor. Are you more concerned with protecting public safety or protecting your progressive narrative and the rich people out on Martha's Vineyard. Because where I sit, and I think where most of the country sits, ICE just removed a gang member and a sex offender from your backyard. And you think that's disturbing? What am I missing here? And let's be honest, if this operation had happened in a red state and a Republican governor had responded this way, if this had happened in my home state of South Carolina and Henry McMaster had acted that way, the media would be exploding right now. But because this happened in Martha's Vineyard, the same place that activated the National Guard when 50 migrants were flown in 2 years ago, now it's somehow a scandal that ICE was actually doing their job. Let me give you some free advice, Massachusetts, Governor Healy. Public safety is not a partisan issue. If that sex offender had molested some little girl in Martha's Vineyard, you wouldn't be disturbed about the fact that he was arrested. If that MS-13 gang member murdered someone in Nantucket, Governor, I don't think you're going to be disturbed at the fact that ICE picked him up. It doesn't matter what zip code someone lives in or what political party they vote for. A violent criminal is a violent criminal, right? A child predator is a child predator. And if they're in this country illegally, ICE has every right, and I would argue every obligation, to remove them, because that's what ICE does. That's what we charge ICE with doing. That's what the president has tasked ICE with doing. Because you may recall, that was one of the things, that was one of his promises in the election last year. Unlike the Joe Biden administration, who handcuffed ICE literally and did not allow them to do their job, Tom Homan made it very clear he's going to allow ICE agents to do what they're hired to do. And that's to get the illegal out of our country. For the record, ICE says they did notify local law enforcement ahead of time. So maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't that no one told you, Governor, what was happening. Maybe the problem is you didn't want to hear it. Here's the bottom line. This is what leadership looks like. Tom Homan and his ICE agents are doing what the American people want them to do. You can't claim to support safe communities and then throw a fit every time law enforcement actually does something to make them a little safer. You can't wring your hands about the due process for people who enter the country illegally and are already documented criminals, while ignoring the rights of law-abiding citizens who live out of fear of what those individuals may do next. And if you certainly can't call yourself a governor for all the people, if your first reaction, Governor, is to ICE arresting dangerous offenders, is to worry about the political optics instead of the safety of your own constituents. You want disturbing? Let me give you disturbing. It's disturbing that a gang member made it to Nantucket to begin with. It's disturbing that a sex offender was roaming free in Martha's Vineyard. And it's disturbing that the response from Massachusetts leadership is to throw a temper tantrum instead of a thank you. Governor Healy, you say you want answers from ICE? They're doing their job, Governor. Maybe it's time you start doing yours. And speaking of governors, Governor Henry McMaster held a ceremonial signing yesterday for a new law aimed at easing skyrocketing insurance costs for bars, restaurants, and other alcohol-serving establishments. You and I talked about tort reform for months now, since the session went in back in January. It's been a real problem. It's been an issue in South Carolina because we've literally had family-run bars and restaurants and taverns close over the past few years because they simply can't afford their liability insurance. The bipartisan compromise gives businesses the ability to lower their insurance burden through common sense measures like alcohol server training, ID scanners, early closing times, and boosting food sales. In return, minimal liability coverage can be reduced. The law also tackles a major concern with joint and several liability, a system that previously allowed businesses to be saddled with 100% of damages in lawsuits, even when they weren't primarily at fault. Now, juries must assign blame proportionally to all involved parties, including those not named in the lawsuits. The previous alcohol-related exception has also been removed. Now, it's yet to be seen just how much effect and how quickly this is going to have an effect on insurance, because the insurance companies still have to buy in. The insurance companies still are going to have to see some results here, I would suspect, before they start lowering insurance rates. But we'll see. This is a step in the right direction. We're not finished. And that seemed to be the overall theme of yesterday's ceremonial signing. Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey called the bill a small step, but one that lays the groundwork for broader legal reforms. House Judiciary Chairman Weston Newton said the law fulfills a promise to an industry struggling to stay insured or even stay in business. The fight wasn't without friction. Social media backlash and even Donald Trump Jr. entered a debate over reform, prompting heated exchanges among lawmakers and activists. I mean, it got pretty nasty at times. But the House and the Senate eventually came to a deal, literally in the final days of the session, just when some people, myself included, wasn't sure anything was going to be done. And Governor McMaster emphasized unity moving forward to solve the rest of the issues when it comes to liability insurance. Business leaders like Sarah Hazard of the South Carolina Manufacturers Alliance praise the law but say more is needed, including reforms to medical malpractice and construction defect lawsuits that can drag on over a decade. And, you know, many of you text and email me, said, hey, I'm a trucker. We need help. I'm a logger. We need help. So our job now is to remind our legislators, when you go back in session again next January, you got to start helping the other industries as well. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.